welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
This is Parker. Go by Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD on forums.
This is Jeremy. Still no forums, but just know I will Squid Game the fuck out of everything if I get that poor. Like, I'm just waiting.
If you get that poor?
I'm just waiting for a moment in my life so I can just Squid Game this. Like, it's... I'm ready.
If you owe like $6 billion of a fake currency of another country, you won't just like declare bankruptcy, which is clearly stated as an option in the show.
No, if I miss one paycheck at work, like if I'm sick or something at the wrong time, like I'm ready to Squid Game. Like just sign me up. I'm fucking in.
If they're like, Jeremy, your 401k took a hit, you're like, Squid Game. It's like, sir, you're still well off. No, Squid Game.
It's incredibly liberating to know that I can Squid Game this.
You're like Michael Scott just screaming Squid Game. Yep.
Like,
I lost $5 at poker. I lost $5 at poker last night. Squid Game!
Yep.
All right. Interesting. I tried to talk about Squid Game earlier, and you're like, no, shut up. We don't want to talk about that.
My comic corner is actually related to Squid Game. It was Squid Game
Perfect.
inspired. Yeah.
All right. Parker, did you get introduced? Did we do you yet?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Mantis Toboggan is in the house.
Okay. All right. So, quick announcements. Down to an even number again. 230. Oh, no. I just realized. So, 230 probationary episodes ran for Parker. Parker's going to Squid Game on us because he's too deep in the hole on probation.
Ooh, he can.
I could probation Squid Game.
So if you shove Jeremy off of a 30-story building, I'll knock it down to 20.
Wait, don't we have to fall through like a pane of glass or something?
Sure. Aim for glass.
Luckily,
aim for glass.
Luckily, my granddad's granddad used to work with glass.
Interesting. So Parker, I got a quick thinking question for you. How many windows are there in New York City?
17 million. Go.
Wrong. All right, Parker's out. Parker just lost Squid Game.
Damn, that's tough,
fast.
bro. I would have clearly
Can't say I didn't try.
I would have stabbed Parker in his eye. Like, we'd be done with that. He'd be out. He's too trusting.
So, Parker, your punishment for losing Squid Game is you have to do the next segment.
Okay. The next segment is news.
News.
Right. So finally, we got an update for a much maligned faction that Jeremy is sure is bad, even though everyone else is sure is just fine. But apparently the internet agrees with him.
I have eyewitness testimony that Jeremy has, in fact, never beaten Guardians.
Yeah.
So...
But Guardians of the Galaxy is getting a facelift in the new update. We have a couple characters that we know of that are getting just straight up improved. But the first one is the leader, Star-Lord. He's getting improved a bit by they are giving him a different version of Winging It. So Winging It before cost the tactics card. You would give 3 tokens to one character, and then they would keep those tokens for the rest of the turn to be used for 2 dice rerolls at will. Now, Winging It says, during the power phase, so just every power phase, choose up to 3 allied characters. Give each chosen character a Winging It token. While a character with a Winging It token is attacking, defending, or dodging, it may spend a Winging It token during the dice modifier to reroll 2 of its dice. At the end of the round, remove all Winging It tokens from characters. So basically now, at the very beginning of the round, you have to give 1 token out to up to 3. So people can't stack them up, but you do get 2 dice rerolls at will throughout the turn.
I like it. The potency of it was definitely giving all 3 of them to a character that could really abuse it, like Rocket or, I don't know, Punisher, somebody that could really aggressively use them. But the fact that you no longer are pitching tactics cards is freaking huge.
Right.
Getting to utilize this every turn of the game is really powerful.
Also, think about their tactics cards right now that you could spend power on and a tactics slot to get you about 2 dice of rerolls and like on a single roll. If you really, really want it to happen, you probably wouldn't, use something like recalibration for 2 dice. But the fact that you just get this for free, it's pretty darn high value. I
think this fundamentally moves Guardians into the reroll faction position. because
Right.
it was Wakandans over Guardians even, but now I don't see how you could even argue that. The amount of rerolls they will get throughout a game is going to be staggering.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely crazy. Like Rocket having a range 5, strength 5 energy fucking weapon with 2 rerolls every turn because he's getting them. I mean,
No, he's getting 2 dice. You mean every
that's
turn.
what I'm saying.
Two
So
dice, yeah.
one of his attacks is basically a 7 dice energy. Like that's pretty much the equivalent.
Well, keep in mind, this doesn't prevent you, in fact, encourages you now, because we were already playing Guardians with the concept that we were down tactics cards. What if you just replace those empty slots with, like, recal, advanced maneuvers, and Kunlun training? Like,
Sure.
you just become the master of dice rolls.
Yeah, their dice are going to all be really good.
Yeah. Not to mention, like, let's say you just put Captain America in Guardians, and then you play Inspiring Monologue on him, and then he's also got the Winging It tokens. Like, he's not gonna die. Factual statement, he will not die.
I think it is actually something about things, because we've talked about Inspiring Monologue. It gives when it actually goes to the table, it gives kind of invulnerability because people just don't want to attack someone. So
It gives
if you have
infinite
some
stealth.
right, if you have someone with a Winging It token and they're not using it offensively, and they got 4, maybe even 5 dice in a defensive pool, people will not want to attack them. Like, it will feel really gross spending an attack to attack them. So they might actually just go with somebody without a token.
Depending on the character, if
Right.
they're an offensive character, people will try and attack them to get them to use it on defense, so that way they can't use it on offense.
Right. Also, this does help some of the characters in the game that love certain dice, like Scarlet Witch. I don't know if you play Scarlet Witch in this faction, but she really does like those rerolls. The other fix for Star-Lord, I say fix like he needed fixing, but the other bonus that he's getting is hit and run. And it's just regular hit and run like always. It's an action that allows him to attack before he moves, so it combines a move and attack action, but attack happens first for 2 power. It does help him do something that he didn't do before, which was mobility. He's supposed to be like this, in the comic books, he's this always rocketing around, shooting people, and on the table, he just stood next to an objective and pew-pewed. Now he's actually moving around. Also, hit and run gives him another reason to have the Power Stone. So if you actually gave him... I always felt like giving him the Power Stone was the wrong thing to do. You should be upgrading another character instead of giving Star-Lord the Power Stone. But Power Stone allows him to hit and run constantly, which is extremely annoying to have somebody who's just always hit and running. Always. And with the Power Stone...
I don't even think he needs the Power Stone for that. If you look at his kit, he has 0 power cost built into his kit.
Right.
They had to add hit and run.
So he could have something to do with it.
Just so he has a power spender. Like, obviously, full auto is what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want full auto to be part of your, gameplay, then yeah, you probably need the Power Stone. But the fact is now he's just become a very mobile, contesting model because he's going to be constantly moving all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very good.
This is actually one of the very first characters that I feel like I looked at the original, and he looked a little bit bland, I guess, as a very early in the game character. But there was nothing wrong with him. Like, he wasn't a bad character, I think. So this is one of the very first times I'm looking at him and going, they didn't help him with his power curve. They didn't pull him up into something. I feel like they just wanted to buff Star-Lord. I don't know if I like it. I love that it's Star-Lord. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love rerolls. I will be playing this faction a lot more than I already do. But
so
I
what?
don't know
what
if I needed
you're
to do
saying?
that.
You don't understand why Star-Lord got a buff?
Yeah. Other than people just thought Guardians
widely,
was bad.
he was considered a very underpowered character.
Yeah.
He was considered dead weight for most people.
Yeah.
And so if you didn't feel that way, then you just didn't succumb to the random peer pressure you were never exposed to.
I guess.
Also, every game you've played him, he just one-shots everybody, so...
Right.
Yeah.
That helps.
He seems to do a lot of damage on your turns.
Well, Star-Lord attacks, so 9 hits, I guess. How many did you block? He's like, 1. He's like, alright, so, that's 8. So how much do you take? You're like, 3, because I'm dead already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's Games with Parker.
Yep. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Not having to play the tactics card game because you take Star-Lord is just worth everything. Even though he was bland at 3 points and kind of did his thing, it's fine, whatever. But his leadership before was just a pain in the ass. That caused trouble.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, it caused an unneeded element to the game. Like, why the hell do you got to fight that? Everybody else gets to play all their tactics cards, and suddenly they don't. That's just dumb. Even though you have ones that you can ditch if you need, that's still dumb. That's like not fair. That was taking a part of the game kind of away. Now they've just given it free. Like, holy hell, they got good.
I think this was actually one of the first true adjustments to power creep, because when he came out, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But as more things got released, primarily tactics cards, the leadership became worse. Because turns out all you've got is better than winging it. And it turns out like many cards like field dressing and climbing gear are actually better than winging it. And so it got to the point where you just had 5 tactics cards you wouldn't want to throw away. And that completely changed the dynamic of the faction.
Hell,
and so it's more of a power creep to the tactics cards than it is to Star-Lord.
Hell, Deadly Duo is much better than winging it. Like,
right.
Heck,
but you could combine that.
Right. Yeah. So you basically, the way Guardians played before, functionally on the table, is you would run out of tactics cards by turn 3 because you were blowing them on big bullshit. Maybe you have one left over, but I felt like I was always just done with them. This new one, it means you're going to play that part of the game too, as opposed to before you were unloading everything early. Ready for Gamora?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so Gamora, we all knew she was going to have something happen to her.
Gamora was the best 4-point character in the game.
Yeah.
Which game?
Best 4.6 dice basic character in the game, was she maybe? No. Maybe. So Gamora is got a couple big facelifts. The main one is she got +1 health on both her front side and back side. Huge difference. Huge difference.
I don't know if it's huge. It is a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
That was her biggest problem.
Right. She needed to be a different place of the curve. And she's now way different place of the curve. Also, she gained stealth, which is just great because she is a speed long mover and she still has assassin leap, so stealth is really strong, and she kept martial prowess. So as long as she has power on her, you need to attack her at range band between 2 and 3 in order for her to not do something about it. Otherwise, I believe she remained unchanged. That was it, right? It was just stealth and 6 health on both sides. Yeah, pretty sure that's all.
Okay.
Now she's in competition without other 4-pointers getting nerfed. I mean, if you scrape off the top 3 4-pointers, you can go, oh, okay, she's viable, she's in there. But unless she's in Guardians of the Galaxy, you're still not just going to splash her in another list, most likely.
Oh, I actually thought of a place that I wanted to splash her before, and I think she definitely goes in it now.
Oh yeah, what's
that? Captain America Avengers, because after playing,
that's right, you told me about that.
Because after playing Black Panther's Assassin Leap for 1 power, it's dumb. And if I got to do martial prowess and Assassin Leap for only 1 power all the time, I think it's definitely worth it. I think the only thing she doesn't do is push people around, but she does just kill them dead. And so I think she could be a contender for the same kind of role that Black Panther plays in Avengers. If you want to do a less attrition, long game attrition Avengers and more of a blitzy Avengers with Cap, I think she's a really good flanking piece.
I've never been a fan of Gamora. I'm not a fan of this Gamora either. I mean, she's certainly better. There's no argument that having... What else did she get? Oh, she picked up stealth. Stealth and hit points.
Yeah.
So those will help. But because of the way her kit works, it's not like stealth is going to make her immune to attacks.
She doesn't... So what she doesn't have, to me, is the issue. She doesn't have flurry. She doesn't have a throw. And she doesn't have a bow. Those are on 4-point models. 4-point models have that are super good.
Mm-hmm.
So she has none of that.
She feels kind of like Angela. If everything were to line up, she'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so hard to get those things to happen.
But I mean, I fully expect to see her on the table a lot and get my ass handed to me by her. Like, she can chop down a building. I have no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously rerolls on her are good, especially with like martial prowess in play. I don't know. For 4 points is a really tough slot for me, and it's more of a complaint about 4-point characters than it is Gamora. I think Gamora's probably okay. This is not the kind of character I reach for in a game, and that might be a playstyle thing, or it might be a quality thing. I don't know.
All I know is, Gamora is a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a really good flanking piece. Like, I think she's a if Assassin Leaves cost 2, it's harder to do, but with a 6 dice basic and a long move and a pounce, you will do a bunch of damage on a turn from a long way away. And
the problem is the action economy. I do think that leap attacks like Assassin's Leap and Pounce, stuff like that, are very quality.
mm-hmm.
But the distance it covers, like, because if you're going to utilize her newfound stealth, then you need her to be obviously far away, but further away than Pounce is. Like, if you want Pounce to deal damage, that's the whole point. So it does, very seldom will it actually result in you being able to close the gap and also dealing damage. It's usually either close gap or deal damage. It's not both generally with her.
Well,
because she
right.
doesn't have the survivability, even with 6 health, to move in and take it for the following round.
I
where
think
Black Panther can just walk in and say, "Come at me," and he'll just be fine.
Black Panther is going to be a more defensible character, sure, because he's got more dice and blanks. Yeah. However, if I'm putting her in Avengers to make her things cheaper because I think it's the strongest way to do it. But you might be able to make a case for it being in somewhere like Guardians. But if you just long move and Assassin Leap, you're definitely outside of 3 at the start of that, right? So she's not taking damage before she does a long move and an Assassin Leap. So you're sending 3 dice of dodge at them, and then they get hit with Godslayer. So if Godslayer does no damage, that sucks, but it is 6 dice. And they have bleed. So now they're bleeding, taking damage from a dodge and a basic attack, and you did that from long plus a short throw away at the start of the turn when you weren't taking any attacks. That seems like a lot of great initiative. And then you're stuck there. If Godslayer did 2 or more damage, you can martial prowess at least once, making it dangerous for them to try to come back.
What's a comparable 4-point character then? What do you think is another example of a reasonable average 4-point character that's in this similar role of like a striker? It's like goes in, kills somebody, that's their job.
I think
Killmonger's probably the most reasonable direct comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's close. I think
there's obviously
Wolverine,
good and bad on both sides.
Yeah, I was like Wolverine, kind of, because he has to have attack his cards to have initiative.
So with Wolverine and Killmonger, because of the fact that they have a charge mechanic that includes the attack, it doesn't end up costing them the action. The Assassin's Leap can get you from like range 3 to range 2, right? Like it can get you into normal striker range. But if you were starting at range 3 of somebody, she's at more risk than any of those people. Because those people have comparable health pools but better defensive stats. And usually some kind of defensive mechanic in addition.
Mm.
And so the reason I'm not a big fan is because if she's starting so close that she could just be attacking at range 3, you could just play somebody who has a range 3 attack. And then you don't have to deal with... Like, just play Sin. Like, even... And she's a very cheap example. And she's not like a direct comparison, but it's just like... I the way I view it, like you were saying, I'm going to move and then pounce and then hit you. Well, Killmonger's going to charge and hit you twice, which is more than likely going to deal a lot more damage than that Gamora's pounce and attack.
I'll put it down on the table, but I think Killmonger does that a lot. He has to be a lot closer for that to happen, because he's got to be medium and then range 2, right? And Gamora's going to be long plus the short throw.
She can do it from farther, correct?
Right.
But he's rolling 1 less dice, but the attack has Pierce and his energy, which I would argue is better than the 6 dice physical.
Sure.
And so. But the combination of the medium plus range 2 is going to cover the vast majority of distances you need to cover. As where the Gamora thing, the pounce isn't enough to close the gap usually on its own. And so I just find that's a better range band. Like, yeah, if she needs to, she can go farther. But at the same argument, Killmonger could just move and attack, or move and charge, and cover a much greater distance. Because medium 2 is going to be better than long short.
But then you lose the damage you get from the collision, and you're just having to get to do 1 5-die attack.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's when it's starting to come back down to earth. But the 6 dice physical plus the collision is only slightly better than I think his energy Pierce.
Yeah.
But the fact is that he has the much higher upside if he can just charge and get there, because he's getting the double attack. And it's I just don't see her double attacking that often, because she's either going to be dead or she's going to have to gap close.
I think I think I think if you're playing her, I do not think she is going to like dive in like Wolverine does in the middle of a bunch of mobs. I don't think she's going to stand there and be constantly flurrying people and knocking people away like Medusa does. I think the Killmonger position is probably more accurate. Where Killmonger also does not like to go in the middle of a bunch of shit. He likes to go like on a flank where he's 1v1 almost always. And I think Gamora in a 1v1 is actually pretty scary in this form because you have to if you're playing her in Avengers, you're going to get martial prowess. So you have to overcome her 5 dice at least once and not take 2 damage.
Let's not talk about affiliation bonuses making the character work, though, because it's the same conversation you can talk about Killmonger having an affiliation bonus, too.
Sure. So then let's say she has 2 powers, so she does it on turn 2, she assassin leaps, and with Godslayer she does 2 damage. So she'll get martial prowess the next turn. Your opponent has to be cool with taking 3 dice throw damage, taking a 6 die attack, and then hopefully doing damage once you martial prowesses. Because here's the other thing: when he's targeted by attack, if the attacker just flubs the attack roll and she doesn't need to have great defense dice, then she just does 2 damage right back to them. I think she's doing more damage, I think she's doing at least as much damage as Killmonger has. She's just doing it at different times. So I think it'll be what do you want? Do you want somebody that will stab somebody down very proactively, or do you want somebody who's going to be doing damage in different ways, like through martial prowess, through assassin leap, and then if she has the opportunity, she gets really nice dice. Godslayer can overcome them with 6 dice. I think it'll be the more I stare at her, the more I like her. But
I don't think she's terrible. Like I said, I think she's competitive with the field, but there's a lot of 4-point characters that we consider to be like game average that do not ever get played.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's about where she's at now. Instead of being the worst 4-point model, she's now just not good.
Oh, and there's one more interesting thing, which is Deadliest Woman in the Galaxy. I've never played her a lot to actually see how this shows up. Mm-hmm. But when she rolls 6 dice, and every wild lets you mod another dice automatically, as long as you're not rolling skulls, she ups her average. I wonder what the math is on that. What does the math do is if your wilds all automatically turn into other hits if you have dice that aren't skulls or, you've already maxed out. It's an interesting...
Yeah, I don't know the math on it.
Yeah. I'm excited to play her because I hated the idea that she could just be completely taken down by a random nonsense. But now stealth makes it harder and 6 health makes it harder, so we'll see. Groot.
No, yeah, the health is a good change, and stealth is nice, but I don't think stealth's actually going to help too much.
I think she's going to help her like set it up. It's not going to help her once she closes.
My biggest problem with her, just real quick, is I just feel like she's very rarely going to go in and take somebody down, because even if you get the collision off of Assassin's Leap and a Godslayer attack, you're only averaging like 4.5 damage, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot of times that just isn't enough. And all you're doing is giving somebody the power they need to really take you out. As where I feel like Killmonger, when he gets his charge off, I feel like there's a reasonable expectation he's going to take somebody out. Because he gets the additional dice on the second attack. It's a better damage type. Pierce is at least as good as Deadliest Woman, if not better. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's do Groot.
Groot. So Groot actually got a balance. The main balance he got was Living Plant. Living Plant now removes 3 from his character, but he can only use it once per turn, so he can't just automatically go from a bunch of damage to full damage because he takes as much damage as he gets power. So now he has that. But his strike changed. His strike is no longer a range 2; it is now range 3. So now he is no longer just a constantly regenerating tree. Now he's more of a turret and a slider heal.
Thoughts, Jeremy?
Let's talk about the next guy, and then let's talk about him together.
No, we have to talk about Groot.
I don't give a shit.
I do want to say real quick that I liked the fact that he could heal to full. He felt very gimmicky and broken in that way, but it was definitely not good for game balance. I think this is a much more reasonable expectation of what Groot should look like. This is how you balance a game, because when you have a giant, get punished because you rolled bad effect, oh look, you only did 6 damage to Groot, so he heals 6. guess you sucks to be you. Like, that's not fun. Like, that sucks. Also, having a range 3 strike makes him able to contribute. It's just good changes. I like this a lot.
Right. He makes it feel like he's more than just a Woody speed bump that just is there to be annoying. So, speaking of there to be annoying, they took Rocket Raccoon. I don't know about you guys, but I thought Rocket Raccoon was very underpowered at 2 points, and he needed serious buffing, and so they did.
He has been power creeped.
Yeah. When this character is targeted of attack now of an ally group within 2 of this character may use the superpower. The ally group becomes the target of the attack regardless of range and LOS. So personal bodyguard used to be at range 1. Now it is at range 2, so it can be a lot further away from Groot. And he gained a new passive called Nimble. This character does not suffer damage from collisions. Just any.
So if you read the developers' notes, they talked about how Groot was used as a weapon against Rocket, and they really did not like the way that played out on the field. And so Nimble is an attempt to combat that, and they didn't like how strictly tied together they were with the range 1 bodyguard, and they brought it more in line with the other bodyguards in the game. All right, Jeremy, what'd you want to say?
Combined, they make a really nice 5-point character. And also,
that's always been true.
No, it's not been true. Actually,
yes, it has.
No, you never got 5 points work out of that. Anyway, it's a really nice clump to take those 5 points compared to any other, and I'm horrified that they took away being able to throw shit at Rocket Raccoon. That's gonna be real tough, man. Being able to have to eat all this. Energy attacks at range 5. It was already a nightmare. I don't know how many people have tried to kill a Rocket Raccoon, but it was already really tough. Now it's real tough. So I don't know. I don't know if it's okay. I don't know if this creep is okay.
This is the second worst change they've made in all of the new adjustments. I don't even think it's really that close. I think this is a bad change. Making a character just straight immune to collisions, like one whole game mechanic, is stupid. If they wanted him to not take damage from Groot, they could have said character collisions with other characters, like Kingpin has. There's example text in the game of that exact functionality existing. And then if they wanted him to specifically just not die from Groot throws, they could have said, this character's not suffer damage when colliding with an allied Groot. They could have just said that. Like, it could have been part of Personal Bodyguard. It's like, just like, oh, and also, Groot can never cause collisions to Rocket. Like, they could have said that. I do not like this. This is really stupid. It's not thematic. This feels like a really lazy change. It's like, Rocket keeps dying to throws. What do we do? Make him immune to throws. And they never, like, playtested it, is what I feel like. And maybe I'm wrong. Like, obviously, I assume the playtesters know more than I do. But this seems like a real bad change. Like, I hate when characters are like, well, he's supposed to be easy to kill, and so they give him really, really bad stats. It's like, well, that's too easy to kill. So give him a bunch of rules that make him harder to kill instead of giving him better stats. It's like, just give him better stats. Like, if your problem is that his stats are bad, fix his stats. If you don't want a character that is easy to kill, don't make a character that's easy to kill, and then retcon it by adding a bunch of dumb rules that he's immune to stuff. Because, like, I don't know of any knowledge in his backstory that he is really good about dodging incoming objects. In fact, he's, like, mostly the opposite, I think. Anyway, I really dislike this change. I like the bodyguard at range 2. Nimble is dumb. I really don't like that it's in the game.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially since every round he's going to be getting his rerolls with the new affiliation bonus. I think it's a lot. This
is going to be a huge negative play experience. Do you know how many times people are going to be like, okay, well, I throw this thing into Rocket, and your opponent goes, oh, he's immune to collisions. And you're like, okay, well, I don't do that. It's like, well, you already threw it. Like, it's like, well, I have his card. It doesn't say he's immune to collisions. Well, they added it. Like, this is exactly CID bullshit I hate. Like, this is a gotcha mechanic, like, worse than anything we've seen in this game.
So the Sam Spam thing is happening, and people have seen having a good leader that's cheap, what you can do. I think we're about to see this just come unlocked. Like, I think we've unlocked the faction with lots of models that are really good, that are just going to flood the table. And one of the biggest problems to me with this game, no matter how many dice you drop and what you do, sometimes you just can't, even though they don't have very much health, even though they're very killable, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And Rocket and Groot not being able to just be killed at all almost.
Well, Groot's much easier to kill now. Now the concept before was you're supposed to have to kill Groot first. Now that's actually the way you do it. You just kill Groot because he can't heal forever now.
Yeah, you kill Groot and you've taken now 4 energy blasts to the fucking face while you're trying to.
No, it hurts. I mean, like we said,
might be
all
there.
Of that's fine. All that's fine. I think you should have to take rocket shots to the face. I think that's the way the 5 points worth of characters are designed to work. They should work that way. I don't like that he's just immune to so many things in the game.
Yeah.
Like I think when this character was made, they underestimated how good cover was. Especially when you're talking about, well, this character has 2 defense dice. Cool, so he's going to block 2 like 30% of the time. Why is he better at defending than Captain America? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's so silly. Like, the amount of his block average is fucking crazy.
And that's if you can see him. I don't think most people understand how line of sight works in this game. Most of the time, you can't see him. Like, he's behind a car shooting you in the face.
You're saying because your opponent's playing well? Sure, if you're going to say that he just can't be attacked, I'm okay, that's fine. But the fact is, when you do land attacks on him...
Yeah, I
a
agree.
Better defensive profile than most characters in the game.
Sure.
And that's literally not what Rocket's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, again, I think he's worth the 5 points.
Yeah, I don't like this. The obvious worst change so far in all of the adjusted models is Shuri. Shuri is still way, way, way too good. They had the opportunity to fix her and they just missed it. And so now I think this is a bad change. Those are the only 2 I disagree with so far at all. Like, I poo-pooed Gamora. I actually think Gamora's fine. Mm-hmm. I just don't like characters that work like this. Mm-hmm. Anyway, though, so Rocket, yay.
I actually like the personal bodyguard change. I think that by itself would have been fine because it did feel. It made the game feel. It made his game feel very small because you were trying to get Groot to happen for him, but that. And the nimble making him not suffer damage from collisions. It doesn't matter if Groot has roots and usually is walking with like his roots in the ground or whatever, and you don't want him to hurt Rocket. That's the point. Is he's standing next to Rocket and Hulk picked him up and threw him at Rocket. Like that doesn't. It's a choice. Like there should be a certain amount of paper rock scissors for most characters. You should be able to say, like this character is really good at defending. A small number of low dice rolls, he will not take damage from that consistently. That's what Rocket has, right? Always has cover. That should allow him to dodge some of that stuff. That's what he has. Consistent damage, dodge, consistent low damage dodge. But when you just give him no collisions, that takes away the paper. There's nothing that covers the rock. It should just be awesome all the time.
Why is Rocket better at defending against thrown objects than Magneto?
Right.
There's no logic. Why is he better at defending against thrown lampposts than Thanos? There's no logic here.
Guys, but he's nimble.
You were asleep when I talked about all this stuff, but one of the points I brought up was I don't like it because it's a negative play experience from the concept that if your opponent does not realize that he has this rule, once they have done the throw, it's too late to go back. It's like they'll walk up, it's like, all right, I throw Groot. They place Groot in base with Rocket, and they go, okay, make a dodge roll. And they're like, actually, he's immune to collisions now. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to throw him into Rocket. It's like, well, we've already moved the model. So unless your opponent's being real friendly, especially at a tournament, now we have to, like, reverse engineer where everything was.
Mm-hmm.
Parker, maybe you should stand up. It looked like you just went cross-eyed.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, I'm so good.
All right. I think we've talked this one to death. Do we have anything else to talk about, Parker?
I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So moving on to our next topic, we got currently playing. Jeremy, you played some games with some slimy boys, right?
I did. Played.
Why don't you tell us about how fun it was?
It was the most fun. So I played Separation Anxiety, and it. Basically, so the easiest way to say it's Munchkin. So whoever has the thing at the time, everybody gangs up on them. and
Oh,
it's
okay. So it's like King
really
of Tokyo.
yes. Well, I don't know about that. I never played that, but
Oh, okay.
so
It's
initially,
King of the Hill.
yeah.
Right.
And what's funny is there's 4 people, so there's 4 orders of priority. So you'll do your thing, which is powerful, whatever, and whoever grabs the beacon immediately gets pounced on by all these other priority people, and then depending on how many people have gone, you might be going last. You hold it for 1 minute, and everybody dives on you, which is awesomely fun. These superheroes with superpowers are actually getting to do them, and because it's not you, you're cheering for everybody to beat the shit out of whoever has the thing. So everybody really is rooting for each other most of the game, which is a different feeling. This game doesn't play that way. It's such a versus, like everything counts, everything matters. With this play style, it was fun for everybody the entire time.
I'm a little confused. Why isn't it just not fun for the person who has the symbiote and getting ganged up on?
But once it gets taken from you, you get to watch everyone else beat the shit out of the guy who took it from
Yep.
you.
Oh.
So it's a hot potato.
I thought there were multiple symbiotes. There's only one in the field.
No. So just a really quick explanation.
The prime objective.
Yeah.
That
So
everybody's going for.
You have symbiotes, which gets you 1 victory point per symbiote that you have. You also have things that you're supposed to be standing next to. Those get you victory points. If you grab the beacon and hold on to it, all the symbiotes are worth double for that turn. You still win. Whichever player gets to 16 first wins. And if you pick up the beacon, you take 3 damage immediately. So a lot of characters can't even do it. So if you do it and you got the balls to do it, you're taking damage, and then everyone looks over at you and jumps on you with these crazy ass symbiotes that are doing all kinds of crazy stuff too. So it really is it's a game of hot potato where if you decide to pick it up, you're next. So you get 1 turn to grab it. So the whole thing is about timing. You're trying to time it just right to be the last one holding and like go, I did it, and then you won't hold it again. You'll lose half of your army. Like half of your dudes will be gone if you try and grab it. But it was super fun. So I played that. I also played just a regular game. I've been playing X-Men again. I've got like a X-Men Thanos build thing going. It's really cool and fun. That's it.
Cool. That's good.
Do you play any X-Men cards in that list?
I play All You Got. That's an X-Men card. Field Dressing, X-Men card. Rivals, X-Men card.
Bitter Rivals.
Yeah, that's X-Men card.
X-Men have rivals.
They're so bitter.
Yeah. Do not.
Alrighty. So anyone listening to this, I usually try and post this late Friday, early Saturday, and so you probably have about 3 hours to get to the Geekery to play in this event. But I'm going to be running a Separation Anxiety event at the Geekery on October 23rd at 1 p.m. So if you want to come out and play, hopefully you'll come out and we'll have a good time.
I mean, worst case scenario, once you play in it once, like you have all the rules and stuff, you could just play a Separation Anxiety game sometime, right?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So what I would even go further to say, if I'm at the game store and it's not a tournament day, I'll play Separation Anxiety instead of the game. That's how good it is. It was
Awesome.
that much fun.
I believe you said that's also true of the Magneto Ultimate Encounter, right?
So Magneto Ultimate Encounter is exactly opposite of everything I just said that I loved.
Where nobody has fun and everyone just hates it.
It was bad.
What if you just tried? Did you consider just trying?
You know what I didn't do? I didn't actually read the rules. I just let you beat us about the face and neck like for fucking 2 hours.
I produced a 3/4-inch torque wrench from my blazer pocket and proceeded to bludgeon him about the head, neck, and shoulders.
That's about right.
So, next topic we have is kind of a combo topic. We're going to roll currently playing into our main topic for today. So, Parker, we talked about this briefly in the pre-ramble, and from what I understand, you lost a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and because of that, we need to talk about it and make sure it never happens again.
Yes, because I am so very butthurt about this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ever let it happen again. So here's...
Well, this is, ever since you quit playing me, this is like a new feeling for you.
Yeah. So let me set the scene. I'll try to make a long story short. I was playing X-Force into
A-Force.
A-Force, and A-Force had a really interesting kind of strategy. Basically, they had Scarlet Witch and Okoye and She-Hulk kind of ran up the middle, just more or less just to die. They were just supposed to die slowly enough for Quicksilver and Black Cat.
Catwoman. Her name is Catwoman.
Yeah, to Shadow Black Catwoman. For Black Cat and Quicksilver to gather enough tokens to just win automatically, because I couldn't actually chase down Quicksilver and Black Cat, or really either of them. So long story short, I won the attrition battle. I cleared out She-Hulk, Scarlet Witch, Okoye. I flipped Quicksilver. I did all of that, and I lost nobody. He turned over Wolverine, and
to be fair, the turning over Wolverine thing was not irrelevant.
Right.
The no objectives on the backside was kind of a noticeable outcome.
Yes. So yeah, turning over Wolverine made it hard for him to contribute to if I wanted to play it. So basically, on turn 3, I completely won the attrition fight and then lost the game because I went, okay, I'll split up my force because I have my whole army still left. I'm going to take half my roster is going to go for Quicksilver, the other half's going to go for a Black Cat. Surely someone can tag one of them, and for 3 turns they could not.
He stayed just barely out of reach most of the time.
Yeah,
and it is partially was kind of specifically a unique situation because how elusive those two characters are.
Right.
Between Quicksilver and Black Cat, they can pretty much get away from anybody.
Right.
That compiled with the fact because you abandoned the objectives to go chase them, it just led to a widening gap in control points.
Right.
Which was actually pretty close at the time you decided to go get him.
Yes. So at the time I decided to go get him, he was up only ahead by 2, I think. But because of the 2 turns, by the 2 turns, I finally got 2 Black Cats. So to my credit, Cable finally got a hold of Black Cat and knocked her down pretty easily. But as soon as she got knocked down, he was up by 8 points at that moment, and so he goes, Black Cat will just stand up and long move, climbing gear, grappling hook, and now it's turn 6. I have 15 points. You can't gain 8 this turn, so that's it.
And as long as Black Cat survives the round, he wins.
Right.
Because it was his last character,
right?
Basically.
Quicksilver was likely.
Quicksilver was alive, but he was totally boxed in at that point.
He was also bleeding, so he only had like 2 health left. Like, yeah, he was. So basically,
it was gonna be pretty easy to get rid of him.
Right. So this inspired the topic I have today, which is basically we got down to the end of the game and we realized on turn 3 I would have had to realize that there was the Black Cat and Quicksilver on the board, and as soon as I realized that, I had to go. Wait a minute. My characters can't catch them. I don't have a character that can catch them. Realistically, I needed to stop focusing on their powerhouse characters in the middle and eliminate those quick characters at the very beginning, or completely give up on my attrition strategy and switch to camping on the secure points on turn 3. I had to look 3 turns ahead. So basically, this is the question I have. As a player, do you have to be able to recognize that on turn 3 and know what's going to happen by turn 6 because your opponent's playing those 2 kind of slippery characters or any 2 analogous slippery characters, and it's a tactical decision you have to make every time? Or is it a strategic decision where at the beginning of roster selection, I needed to have options for characters that can actually chase down those 2 and eliminate them or take their tokens away or something, so that I'm not trying to chase them for 3 turns in a futile attempt to stay in an attrition game. So yeah, we stared at this for a long time trying to figure out what's the best method. Is it a tactical decision during the game, or is it a strategic decision before the game even starts, recognizing what your opponent has the potential to do?
Okay. Jeremy, do you want to go or do you want me to go? I'm ready, but I don't want to cut you off if you were in the middle of a thought.
I mean, the only thought I have is those 2 models do their thing, and they're long movers and stuff, and they're brand new. Well, they're not brand new, but they're fairly newer. Angela and Miles have been kind of doing this since the beginning of time. It's the same. The same kind of thing. Anyway, go ahead, Brandon.
Literally Toad's job.
I mean, yeah, there's models that do that.
These characters exist.
Yeah. So go ahead with your thought. That was my only thing. It's a thing.
Okay. So my response is short answer, yes. You do need to be able to identify this on turn 3. But it's not just noticing it in a vacuum. It's like, oh, this situation is currently existing in this game. This is a situation that exists in every game. It's just the question is it a relevant situation? And so when I was playing Black Order, I played Attrition Black Order. My goal was to table my opponent. And it did not work very well, but I could try and, square peg round hold it really hard, and sometimes it would work. I think there is a decent amount of strategic, because strategic is the pre-planning, right?
Yeah.
And tactical is quick decision-making.
Right.
So the strategic, you cannot put yourself in a box, right? You cannot put yourself in a box in which there's a limited amount of things you can deal with. The point of roster building is to remove the box and be able to handle anything. So if you've put yourself in a box in your roster building, that means that you failed at roster building. Not that the roster you have built has a flaw, you've failed. And so, within reason, some of it is strategic, but I think it's very much mostly tactical. If you, the Black Order I was playing, for example, it couldn't beat Web Warriors. It just couldn't happen because I was playing myself into a hole. My list was, Thanos, Black Dwarf, and pick a character. That's not great. But it was fun to play, so I dealt with it. And so, and I think that the list you were playing was reasonably good at playing scenario in most situations. But when it comes to, getting on the board versus your A-Force opponent in this exact scenario, his plan was never to beat you in attrition.
Right.
He was never trying to fight you.
Mm-hmm.
Which means he's playing a non-attrition list where his plan is to win on scenario. You're playing an attrition list that is designed to gain the advantage throughout the battle. You need to recognize instantly on deployment that's the situation. Mm-hmm. And know that you can never allow him to get to an achievable victory on scenario. So, because we have to recognize that attrition is not a win scenario. Tabling your opponent is a win scenario. Mm-hmm. And attrition just means that you're going to gain the upper hand in the, turn-to-turn battle. So unless you know for a fact you can table your opponent, your real victory's condition is actually scenario. Mm-hmm. But you can beat your opponent into submission to where they can no longer stop you from winning on scenario. And so I think it is very important that you develop the skill of, I'm going to recognize when my opponent is threatening a victory and diffuse it before it gets to that point. And I think in a lot of your games with X-Force, it hasn't gotten to that point because too many people have tried to fight you, or you've done a good enough job early in a situation where you never allowed them to get any kind of lead against you for any meaningful amount of time.
Right. Well, honestly, when I saw Black Cat and Quicksilver down on the table, I went, okay, well, I'm going to probably get something stolen twice this game. What I did not realize is when you get something stolen twice in a game very easily by those kind of characters, you can just lose, just straight up.
Yeah.
And
it means they have probably at least 75% of the objectives.
Right. And they had to. By the way, they used all their tricks. It's not like I just rolled over and watched them score a lot of points. They had to. Quicksilver had to use his tactics card. Black Cat had to steal something from somebody. It wasn't just, it wasn't that they had 8 points and I had 2. I was attempting to slow him down. At the same time, I should be able to recognize and go, oh, he has spent 6 points and a tactics card on taking my objectives away. I'm going to get my objectives taken. I need to, if I want to win this game of their attrition, I need to be able to eliminate these characters as soon as they attempt to do this thing. And I actually, another thing that we talked about in the game, another tactical decision is there was one moment where I could have activated Sabretooth before Wolverine in order to eliminate Black Cat when she was close to Sabretooth, because she took one of Sabretooth's tokens.
Yeah, attempt to, yes.
Yeah, attempts to. It was a high chance too, because I had
Sabretooth's real good at killing people.
Right. So, I was staring at the middle of the board, myopically trying to get She-Hulk down, thinking I'm playing an attrition game, and She-Hulk, I don't want She-Hulk just hanging out in the middle of this board, walloping people left and right. I need to activate Wolverine to get, well, actually, I think it was Scarlet Witch. I need to activate Wolverine to get his Scarlet Witch. I've got to activate him first, because if I don't, he'll likely remove Wolverine from the table this turn, and I've lost a lot of the initiative in this fight between Wolverine and Scarlet Witch. So he's really good into Scarlet Witch, so I really want to leverage this power into him now. And if he does it, he eliminates her from the board. She's off the game table, and now I'm really up on attrition. So for all these reasons, I went straight at the Wolverine. It didn't seem like even a possibility the Sabretooth should just try to knock down Black Cat in exchange for Wolverine's whole activation and Scarlet Witch still being on the board at the end of the round. But looking back on it now, it's 100% what I should have done. Because as soon as I saw Black Cat have to get close to Sabretooth to steal it and not be able to get super far away, I should have immediately launched at her with Sabretooth. But
I think Jason gets into a similar situation as you did with this. He gets in this like tunnel vision mode of it's like, well, I'm trying to fight you. And so he just keeps fighting harder and harder, and every decision he makes is centered around how can I be efficient on attrition, but that's not the victory condition that we talked about. So what he'll end up doing is he'll go like, oh, well, if I go here, I can take out this character, and getting that character off the board is a really big deal for like tempo and attrition and positioning, and it will remove his ability to come back on me in this game. But it's not actually that important, because the odds of your opponent actually coming back in attrition are almost nothing. Like, especially when you notice that your opponent was not committing to attrition play, what are the odds they beat you on attrition? It's very little. Like, it would have to go astronomically against you, like, on the odds, to not have, like, your 5 characters outfight 4.
Honestly, 3. Or actually, pretty much 2.
Well, he had She-Hulk. I'm kind of counting She-Hulk as 2, but yeah. So, She-Hulk is a problem. Like, you have to deal with She-Hulk, admittedly.
Yeah.
But once She-Hulk is, like, under control, it's like, well, now I could just stand here. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you've lost attrition. And so once a She-Hulk is dealt with, it's now, we're just playing scenario, and I have a huge advantage because I outnumber you.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment I think you probably should have switched gears. And it's like, all right, well, She-Hulk's under control or eliminated. Now I'm going hard in on scenario from now. I'm not even going to bother making attacks unless you fight me.
It was the second time I've ever played She-Hulk where I actually got to do attacks against her. The first time I played against her, it was one of the, I was playing Criminals and she just kind of walked all over me. It was sad. But this is the first time I was like, I have the power and I have the characters just to remove her. And it wasn't like, it was fairly trivial. She threw something at Zemo and flipped him over on his backside. And she punched him once. That was the only thing She-Hulk did the whole game. Like, I manhandled her. It was awesome. But while I was so focused on that, Black Cat got away. While I was so scared of Scarlet Witch's power, Black Cat got away. And that was the game. Quicksilver actually was struggling to get his thing done most of the game because I kept messing with him. But the Black Cat was one extra piece I should have seen happening. And you live and learn, right? I couldn't have I don't know. I have not ever encountered somebody having 2 characters that do exactly the same thing to control that part of the scenario. And oh, by the way, I think if you play somebody like Web Warriors or you're trying to slant towards this, I will say that having 2 characters on the board that can steal objectives is a huge benefit.
I think that's going to start becoming a thing.
And the fact that Quicksilver and Black Cat can do that at 6 points in a tactic slot is so much better than Enchantress. I know Enchantress is also fantastic, but the fact that Enchantress costs 4 points means you have to have a lot more devoted in your list to have a double dip. You have to have 7 points to take with 2 different characters. I don't know. Also, go ahead.
I think it's important to focus on the fact that, like, how this situation came about, because if I'm recalling correctly, it was a 3 secure point, right?
Yes, it was the
what were you?
It was the legacy viruses.
That's not secure. What was your
Securus. Sorry, the demons downtown.
Okay, so it was. Did you pick demons?
Yeah.
Did you pick demons?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you cut out.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
yes.
so It was because you picked 2 missions that were both only 3-point scorers,
Mhm.
and he got all 3 of the extracts because he had the 2 people that could steal. And then he started running away with you when he already had a small lead.
Mhm.
And so the combination of events that had to happen for that specific ability to run away and actually be successful is he had to be ahead of you on points, and you had to be playing only a 3-point secure mission. And so that was kind of unfortunate, honestly, because if you were playing any other secure missions, there's at least 4 points available to you, and you could have eventually outraced him.
Right.
And so that's kind of just unfortunate. But if you had known that on deployment, you had now knowing what you had learned, you had focused on the fact that, okay, well, he can get to the point where he's going to eventually have 3 points every turn, and he's going to run from me. Well, now you would know that not letting him get a lead is that important, and making sure that you are always scoring those secures every turn to not let him get an advantage. Because if you have a lead, he has to come fight you, and you know you're going to win that battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was by far, even though I've had ridiculous dice games, it felt like by far the easiest attrition battle because, I had to deal with She-Hulk punching me once and Scarlet Witch hitting me once. Otherwise, I just got to do everything I wanted to do.
I watched your Domino pistol She-Hulk for 7 damage.
Yeah.
That was quite good.
That was an extraordinary roll, but I also got Wolverine got to do he got to do No Matter the Cost plus Doom Prophecy. No, not Doom Prophecy.
All You've Got.
All You've Got plus Field Dressing to come back. Oh, by the way, in that turn he took 4 damage earlier that turn, so he came back with full health because All You've Got and his regular turn ending meant he healed 4. So he started the next turn with 7 health, and he downed Scarlet Witch for free and did 7 damage to She-Hulk. I got to do all the things I do, but it doesn't matter because I needed to activate Sabretooth and go get Black Cat on that turn. Black Cat got close.
Yeah. So I think moral of this story is always keep your eye on the prize, which is how you're going to win. Find your win condition and play to it. And so if you should have been able to recognize that you weren't going to be able to actually table him because he was going to run away. Mm-hmm. And then you have to know that you have to stay ahead on points.
Just out of curiosity, in the roster selection, we did make some changes to my roster also to try to create some characters that can deal with somebody super stealthy, super fast. If you are going to play, my opponent was John. Shout out to John. He's an awesome player. And it was a really fun game. It was a goofy end to a fun game. If I'm playing against John and I see him bring that list, I know, because it's a regular, game at our local game store, that I need to deal with the fact that he's going to want to play Black Cat and Quicksilver at the same time to try to win the scenario game. But how often can I make that call if I'm at a random tournament and I see 10 characters in a squad as A-Force and Quicksilver's in there too? Do I look in there going, oh man, I really need to make sure I drop in somebody who can, move fast and charge, a Zemo kind of character?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. That's a lot deeper thought process.
Yeah.
That's a deep strategy thing. It's I know he's going to try and play this, steal all the objectives thing, so I'm going to counterplay it with my own steal all objective thing. That's a risky, I know kind of thing going on. Mm-hmm. But I would say you can kind of look at the roster and tell, because it's not a nothing investment. There's probably 3 or 4 items in his roster that's telling you he's heavily planning for it. Mm-hmm. The characters he's taking, the tactics cards he's taking, the missions he's taking. You should have some inkling that's what's going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean you can't just put those things in and then not do it. That doesn't mean that. No. But
that is a really good point, because not only did he have the Can I Borrow This? That's the name of the Quicksilver card. Yeah, he had Can I Borrow That, and he also had the Mission Objective card.
If they have mission objective in their roster, they're playing scenario hardcore.
Right.
No one's taking that at random.
Right. So that's a big red flag that should have gone off in my brain, going whoa, I've got to make sure I'm caring a lot about these extracts from roster selection. I need to be worried about this.
So, I guess my question is, if you saw, I don't know, Miles or Enchantress on the other side of the table, are they not the first models you try to kill? They're mine. Those are my number two. Those are my number ones because they're the only ones that can simply take your shit from you.
I don't try and kill them first, but I do try and set up traps. So obviously, if they're going to try and send in Enchantress or Miles to steal my objective, I will, and this is like a War Machine thing, I'll put it just barely in reach of them to where they have to go all out to get it, and then have counterattacks in place. And so, like, if they're like, oh, I can just go in with Miles, well, I know exactly how far Miles goes. If he has, was it 6 power?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's 5 power. So he can web swing in, do his Venom Blast, and move away. So I'll be out of range of the move Venom Blast, or the web swing Venom Blast. No, he can't move. Yeah, then he can move away. So I'll be out of range of the, like, just do it and attack and leave. So he can't get out. But I'll leave it within range to where he could get it if he does everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when he comes in and he gets it, but he's still too close at that point, and then I'll have, like, a Valkyrie or somebody that can go in and, like, try and mess him up in response.
And that's why I'm not as scared of an Enchantress or Miles, because Enchantress and Miles, well, Miles kind of, because he can back up a little bit, but both Enchantress and Miles have to be closer than Black Cat and Quicksilver are after they do that nonsense. The fact that she moved, like, honestly, the one thing that was to my benefit in my game is that Black Cat had to steal something from Sabretooth, because Sabretooth can actually long move to follow her after she did it. If you have like a short mover or a medium mover, Black Cat can just leave. She's just gone. So it doesn't.
Miles is the same way. It's like if Miles gets the objective, you'll never see him again.
Right, but
like medium place 3 by.
But stealth. but he has to, like you just said, on the turn he takes it, he actually cannot be as far away, right? He can't be long distance away on the turn he takes it.
Depending on the setup,
really
you can play yourself into a trap. Like if you let's say you walk up, you pick up the objective, you're moving down the order of priority. But let's say the Web Warrior player has priority, they can just double move Miles and stand on you as one of their last activations. Activate Miles first next turn, steal the objective, and double move away or move in place away potentially. Like. It can go bad real fast if you don't think about the order of opportunity in advance. Like, okay, well, this character's already activated, blah, 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 Miles. And it's like, you have to always be able to respond. If you ever lock yourself out, like you've activated all your characters, or you've activated the character that's supposed to be your, like, safeguard against this ability, you're screwed. Like, that's going to happen. You can't stop it now. Or if you randomly lose priority in the middle of the turns, that fucks everything up too. And so you have to be conscious of that. You can't just be like, oh, I've got Valkyrie next to my objective holder, I'm fine. That's not how that works.
Here's a hot take. What is, obviously you can take characters that can follow and chase down those kind of characters more aptly. But what if you on purpose, like let's say I see mission objective and I see Quicksilver and I'm like, okay, I see what's coming. Do you actually try to drop like Skrulls infiltrate world leadership so their speed short? Like, do you do that kind of thing?
Senators would be the one you would do.
Sorry, Senators, yeah.
Senators makes you speed short and it lowers your defense values by 1.
Right.
So you could really fuck them up.
Right. So
also, if they're playing a bunch of Stealers and you get to choose the red mission, that's amazing, because if you can reduce it to 1 objective, not only are you reducing the effectiveness of their ability to steal it, but the maximum number of points they get for extracts is lower. And so you can actually like put them in a smaller race. Like if they're trying to outrace you and they end up with like 3 or 4 extract objectives, it's a lot easier to get to 16 when you're scoring 4 a turn than when you're scoring 2 a turn. Like even Kree Power Core, well, 2 a turn I can deal with because I can just outhold the board over you because you have to protect the objective. I'll just ignore it and come over here and hold these points. Also, but then if you play Demons Downtown, that doesn't work.
Right.
So
you can
don't
also
play Demons.
You can also hard counter by playing the extract that's actually not an extract. The one where you can't even take anything.
Oh, yeah. Research Station Attack. You can't pick it up.
But then again, in a world soon, we're not going to be able to make those choices other than to put them in your list.
I really don't like that.
It is trouble.
Mm-hmm. There are lots of characters and tactics cards that lose functionality on Research Station Attack. And that is incredibly frustrating. Like, what happens if you're like, oh, I'm playing like difficult to please, and you're like, oh, my opponent, I randomly had to play research station attack, so like one of my most like list defining tactics cards just doesn't work.
Yeah, every tactics card they've ever printed that says civilian on it that they purposely made really strong because you could tilt your scenarios just becomes completely worthless after they make this change. It becomes dog shit.
Well, but I don't mind that it nerfs those abilities. My problem is that it doesn't actually nerf them. It just makes them less common. And so you'll have somebody that is playing fucking Yahtzee machine in the corner going, look, I took everything that interacts with civilians, and you randomly flip your one of 3 missions that has civilians on it, and you're an idiot because you just gave your opponent all the power they needed to fuck you. And you're like, man, what an interesting, fun, interactive game. And you're like, I just hate shit like that. It just lets people play Yahtzee machine or Gotcha machine. It's like, look, you've randomly activated my trap card. Get fucked. You're going to have a terrible time. Like, great. It's like, I'm glad that we're playing this game for smart people. Yay. I hate shit like that.
Well, this actually does give me something to think about.
When we were talking about adding characters to your list that could go chase down extracts, it's not just against like what, and you played Aaron, not John, I believe.
That was John.
It was John.
Was it
John?
I was playing John.
You played John.
Aaron was my game the week before that where my dice went on
fire. He blew him off the table at like turn 3.
Yeah.
He's like, bye.
Okay. Maybe I'm just misremembering that. I thought it was, maybe I'm just combining those 2 games in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I was mostly thinking about stuff like, Power Core mission with like Black Order, and so if they're playing the turtle like strategy, that's really hard for a list like X-Force to deal with because they don't have dynamic characters. They have very efficient tactical characters, but they're not like, oh look, I'm going to make one move that's going to totally change the game. It's like, no, I'm going to pay the power it costs for me to charge you and stab you repeatedly. That's what they do. And so that's kind of what Black Order wants to fight against because they can control them and really reduce their impactfulness. And so if you get stuck on like Demons and Kree Power Core mission against Black Order, I don't see how you win unless you have someone who can go dig out the objective.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's relevant. I don't think A-Force is what's going to be overtaking the meta by playing scenario control. Not that they're not fine at it. I'm just saying that I think there's bigger problems in the meta than that.
Right.
And as we've been talking about, I think you can deal with that in different ways. Mainly your play during the game.
Right. But I do like the idea of taking a look at some of the if you're nervous about extraction, or if you're nervous about that kind of thing happening where your list doesn't want to chase down, these really slippery, long-moving stealers that we have now in the game, then you can play something like Research Station or Senators or both, if you feel comfortable with those point levels, just so that you can say, oh, hey, I pick red, get fucked, at least right now. That's good.
Cool.
That makes me feel a lot better, actually. I didn't like the idea that on turn 3 I needed to be able to project the rest of this game. I feel like this game is too dynamic for me to reliably do that. I do feel like I can just watch Shadowcat, god dang, watch Black Cat with 2 tokens and go, you must die now. That seems more reliable. But
Woman Cat.
That's
her name. Woman Cat.
She Kitty. I think I can more reliably notice when somebody's about to run away with the game, quite literally. But projected, that's one of the things I said at the end of the game, going like, okay, I would have had to just predict like 45 minutes of gameplay and all the intricacies in my mind to know this to be true. Or I could just recognize that Black Cat has 2 tokens and she's Black Cat, which is the thing I need to be able to recognize.
That is the shortcut version. Yeah, I guess I want to make sure people don't think I'm saying you need to plan every turn of the game for scoring all the time. Well, I'm talking about like making more of a snapshot in your head. It's like, what's the current point totals? All right, I'm down by 3. My opponent needs 5 points to win. Currently, they're set up to score 4 this turn. Can I reduce that down? Can I what do I need to do to make sure they don't get the 5 points they need? Like those kinds of like, just take a few seconds every turn and do the scenario math. It's like, all right, well, I'm down 3. They need 10 to win. All right, so they're currently looks like they're going to score 5. If I can knock that down to 4, that will make it really hard for them to win next turn, and that will give me a whole nother turn to do what I'm trying to do. And it will keep me in the game longer. Like, little decisions like that go a long way when you might think early on, it's like, oh, I don't want to secure that middle point on demons. I don't want to get incinerated. Well, that 1 point you just gave them might end up being your downfall because it means that they're going to get there on the turn they need it instead of the turn after. And so little stuff like that, I just be conscious of it. If you're going to not take it, that's fine. But take a mental note, like, all right, I'm going to let them have 1 more point than I could have. And if it comes back to bite me, I'll know this was the decision that changed the game. And so later on, when I'm in a similar situation next time, you might make a different decision. Mm-hmm. Don't just get to the end and go, oh, web warriors are broken. They always win on scenario. It's like, well, How many times during the game could you have made a different choice to maybe slow down their scenario play?
Right.
It's like sometimes you just got to walk into Venom and let him punch you because you need to contest a point.
Mm.
In the same regard, a lot of times people stretch themselves way out further than they need to. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't need 5 victory points every turn. Like, look at it differently.
In fact, it's horribly inefficient because that means you're going to end at 20.
No, most of the time, like, you look at it, you don't need to go grab the middle. You don't need to go do that. You just have to constantly get what you need and win the game with that. Don't worry so much about it.
And if it's obvious, like if your opponent's already moved 2 characters to a point and it's obvious you can't stop them, don't put anybody over there. Like don't fight a losing battle just because you think you're contesting a point. Like you're not. If they have a character that hasn't activated yet, all they have to do is move once. You're not actually contesting it.
Right.
It's like go do something else. Like if you can.
Yeah.
And if it's
you go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I recognize that in this game. This was the very first game where I purposely didn't send somebody to the middle because I was like, She-Hulk and Okoye are right there. If I send somebody to go get that, anybody I send there will get dazed by Scarlet Witch directly behind them. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
It is really stupid.
Your opponent has purchased that point with the cost of 8 points in bottles.
Yeah.
You have not. It's their point.
Right.
Congratulations. Like, you spent 8 points for that contest. Good job.
Right.
I will be over here scoring my 3
and
points.
By the way, I took things that could do damage, so I did do like 6 damage to She-Hulk that turn, which felt great because it was just. By the way, don't be scared of doing damage to She-Hulk. Just go ahead and do 10 damage to She-Hulk because then every damage on top of that just disappears into nothing. It's actually
similar to the scenario game. Damage now is better than damage later because if you get to a point where She-Hulk is rolling and you need to do 10 damage. Versus when you need to do 4 damage.
Right.
Totally different situation.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker, that's 2 rapid-fire pistol shots.
Yeah.
When it could only been 1.
Right.
Think of how efficient that is.
Yes. Extremely.
I'll never forget that. I will never forget that fucking moment as long as we live. Because I walked there and was like, oh, She-Hulk has 7 health and Domino is shooting her. Well, this could be interesting. And he just fucking murders her on the first shot.
Blam.
Like, oh my god.
Right through her fucking temple.
I was like, John, you're a gentleman and a scholar, because I would have broken my opponent's models and then peed on them. Like, God, I would have been so mad if he did that to me. All right. Parker, why don't you go ahead and do us a comic corner, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay. So, Comic Corner today is actually brought to you by Marvel's version of Squid Game. If anybody has liked Squid Game, we were talking about Squid Game a little bit in the pre-ramble. And I actually say it's not really Marvel's version of Squid Game, because Squid Game is a version of several other stories, but one of the most popular is called Battle Royale, written by Kashun Takami. He's a Japanese author who... one of the very first people to make this idea of a young people battle royale very popular. It was popular first in Japan and then internationally and then been copied in different forms like the Hunger Games. But Marvel decided to do their own version of it called Avengers Arena. And it's a 3-part graphic novel series that is super duper fun. It's not a what if series. It's 100% canon. Basically what happens is Arcade, who is a super popular X-Men villain, who's kind of a joke in the supervillain community because he's always doing these super goofy, super campy, like, where we put the X-Men in giant pinball machines and shot them around, and then they all had to fight against scarecrows and clowns in an amusement park, spooky, and the X-Men just bash through the robots and the walls and beat Arcade up because he's just some guy with a lot of money. So basically, he he decides he's done with the bullshit. He's done like messing with superheroes and putting them in pinball machines, and he's going to go ahead and try to murder people. And so he thinks the best way to do it is actually not to try to murder them himself, but rather just put them in a situation in which they're forced to murder each other. Every time he's gone after adult superheroes, they're always too capable. So what if he just made the adult superheroes super sad by capturing the young superheroes that they're all attached to and putting them in a battle royale situation? And so that's what he does in Avengers Arena. He creates a brand new version of Murder World. No more stupid gimmicks. It just looks like a giant island. It's under Antarctica, and it's entirely a contained environment. He steals black market technology developed by superheroes to create basically an environment that is completely under his control. He controls every single atom and molecule inside this environment. As long as he's in it, he's functionally a god. And so he tells the young superheroes who are all caught, murder everyone. The last one alive wins. Go. And it's a fantastic 3-part miniseries that it has its own beginning, middle, and end. Some of the characters that you might know that are inside of it are X-23 is in there, Darkhawk is in there, a bunch of characters that they actually invented for the series, basically a version of Deathlock. Any of you guys are Deathlock fans? The cyborg from the future. In this comic, they posit that the person who invented Deathlock had a child, and a Deathlock comes back from the future to kill him, because that's what Deathlocks do, and misses him and shoots his daughter, and so he decides to turn her into a Deathlock, because that's what kind of guy he is. And so she's this girl, wonderfully named Deathlocket, because she's a little girl, also a Deathlock.
Got it.
But there's a bunch of fantastic like teenage superhero characters, and it's a great deathmatch. Also, Arcade is normally a super ridiculous bad guy who is given serious teeth in this one, and it's really fun to see writers explore like what would it be really like if you had a human with infinite resources that has is tired of getting pushed around. So if you want to read something inspired, works a lot like Squid Game or Battle Royale if you've read that book or like that movie.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. If you like that concept, but you'd like to see the Marvel Universe's take on it, try Avengers Arena. It's a really good read.
I cannot believe that Battle Royale did not get sued by Hunger Games for copyright infringement. It really blows me away.
Yeah, how could it be so?
Hey, I can't remember. What did you call Black Cat earlier?
What Black Cat? She Kitty? Is that
what you called her?
I called her She Kitty at one point. I called her Shadow Woman Cat Black. No, Shadow Black Cat Woman.
I got it.
Yeah, it was Shadow Black Cat Woman.
No, I got it. That's not what you called her.
See the black.
I called her Shadow Cat. Black Shadow Cat. That's
Black
Shadow Cat. Yeah. Black
Gangsta.
Shadow Cat Woman.
I don't know if I think we've talked about this in the podcast, but this is the difference between Marvel naming people and DC naming people. Is like Namor and Aquaman. So like the same, or like Black Cat and like Catwoman. It's like, so Daredevil in the DC universe would be Blind Man. It's like, we got it, guys. You're so good at
No,
naming
it
stuff.
wouldn't be Blind Man. It'd be Blind Guy.
No, it'd be man. It's always man or woman. Superman,
you're
Batman,
right.
Aquaman. We're
it's
not
Elastic.
even out of the Justice League yet.
Yeah, it's Elastic Man. Yeah, it's Elastic Man.
Plastic Man.
Yeah, the Elastic Man is actually the stupidest one to me. Like, I'm actually okay with all the others, even though Batman as a concept is actually really dumb when you say it out loud. The Elastic Man is actually the one that I go, I'm not at all impressed. Like,
there's like 4 stretchy people in the DC universe, and they're all like something man. Mm-hmm. It's like Elastic Man, Plastic Man, and like Stretchy Guy, or like, it's so stupid.
That's an interesting thing, because you're right. They're all named a dumb name, but in the Marvel comics, they're actually named just like random adjectives. It's Mr. Fantastic and Miss Marvel. That's interesting.
Because the first thing they do is they actually develop like a backstory that isn't my parents died, move on. Like, that's like, DC writes from the perspective of they want their characters to be like very mysterious and veiled and simple. They want them to be like very like obvious And so when they write their characters, they're very two-dimensional. That's why Marvel, like Spider-Man, Spider-Man has such a rich backstory. It's like you could go on for hours about Spider-Man and never say anything about spiders. Right? like you could. It's like, what about Batman? Tell me something about Batman that isn't like smart karate guy detective boy. Like, it's like that's all he is. There's nothing but Batman. Like Spider-Man, Peter Parker is such an important part of those storylines. But like Bruce Wayne does not matter to the DC universe. It is a name that he puts on his tax return. That is it. Mm-hmm. Like, and most of their characters are like that. They are the superhero. They are not the alter ego.
Yeah, and to the point, one of the things I like about that is, in the Marvel Universe, a lot of Marvel Universe characters are out. Like, you know exactly who they are. Like, Tony Stark is Iron Man, Steve Rogers is Captain America. Like, because the person behind the mask is as important, is as much a celebrity as the superhero, right? They're not. They are as
Doctor
important.
Strange's superhero name is literally his like legal name.
Yeah, it's literally his name.
Like, what's your name, Doctor Strange? No, like, what's your real name?
Yeah,
Doctor Strange,
Mr. Doctor. It's
strange. Yes, it is.
It is a bit. That had to have happened prior to.
I don't know what. I don't know what comic that came in.
It comes up in What If, and it's in the movie.
Yeah.
But that has to be, like...
a tongue-in-cheek
I know it's obviously a running gag in the comics, but, like, just as a person, that had to have happened to him at some point in his career before he became a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Alright, let's go ahead and close this out. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
You good? Alright. Well, this has been Brandon.
And Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD.
Jeremy.
Just Jeremy this time? No / TikTokers?
I'm currently looking up what I have to do to get in this Hunger Game thing. I don't have time with this.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and this has been Steely Black Shadow Catwoman.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
So Harry Potter, churlish or kitchen? Go.
I don't hate Harry Potter.
I really thought
like Harry
you
Potter. I've read the entire book series like 5 times. I'm on like read number 6 right now. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But anyway, on my quest to inject myself with nanobots, I found this at a store, and I was like, hell yeah! Like, you know, butterbeer is like one of the coolest things that you could, in theory, have in our world that's in Harry Potter. So. Like, there's a bunch of, like, homegrown recipes and stuff where, like, you can make your own. There's a lot of, like, argument about what it's supposed to taste like, but basically a lot of people boil it down to butterscotch candy. That's a liquid, basically. So, yeah, and I remember one year we were at... Parker, I don't think you were there.
I don't remember this, yeah.
Who was... I can't remember who went with me, but we went down to the melee at Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
And where Brent and his crew are down in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And there's like a big Man-O-War tournament, I think is what it's called. It's one of the successors of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Mm-hmm. And this guy had made up like one of those big 5-gallon coolers of butter beer. And so he was giving it out. And that was kind of good, but it was obviously berry sweet, as you would expect.
Would you say it was berry sweet?
No.
Butterberry sweet?
That doesn't even make sense.
You make sense. I think.
Oof. That tastes like butterscotch. Yep, I did it. It says it's carbonated, but it's not very bubbly.
So, on a whole different note, I saw a meme, and it seemed to imply that Privateer Press is killing the CID program.
Oh yeah, did you not hear about this?
No.
Wait, no, huh? What?
Apparently, people are under the impression that, or the company has become under the impression that people don't like CID and rapidly changing rules and power creep.
No way.
Who would have guessed it? I don't know why. It came out of left field. We thought after 3 years of ruining a game, they were on board. Apparently, they've been against it the whole time, and we just didn't realize. And it's not even like it was a secret. Apparently, we just refused to read any feedback for 3 years and just forge onward on the path we had decided in our money-grabbing, like, fucking opportunist hands.
Hey, you showed me...
all of a sudden, you show me one person that thinks CID is bad, I will show you a fucking liar.
Yeah. You knew where I was going.
Parker, I always know where you're going.
Yeah.
I know where you live.
I know.
So are they just like dropping it cold? What's the deal? Do you know?
They're doing one more massive update.
Oh, good.
And when I say massive, like, Mark III was not a big change. Like, massive update. They're literally reworking the entire game. So, last I heard, the count was up to over 600 units were getting adjusted. And CID is
There
on
are
hiatus.
600 units in that game? Wow.
Yeah, right. Well, there's actually more than that, yeah.
Couldn't they just click it back a notch and go to Mark II again? That'd be fine.
But, Jeremy, how would you force people to buy all the new models if you just backed up?
Oh my god.
It's weird how when you went to a large event and every table was just like all the newest models, it's really weird. There must be some kind of random coincidence that people just like buying all new models every 3 months.
Well, I hope they make all the stuff I own good again, and all the rules are great in
that's
the game.
definitely not going to happen.
Because I happen to have a lot, and I'll make a good deal. I'll make real good deals.
So from what I've heard, the plan is to bring most things in line with the current average. And so basically anything that is more than a year old is getting a big update. And then anything that is an outlier on the high side is getting toned down a little.
Gotcha.
But the game basically devolved into Super Solo Machine, where it was just like everyone has 8 and 10 point solos of like these Archon things, which were like super fucking over the top crazy. And so the game was just how many of these big angel characters can you put on the board? And so a lot of them are getting toned down. Also, the entire game was like remember how it used to be where like living models was the worst thing you could put on the table because everything fed on them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's become even more like that, where it's like living models are completely worthless.
Okay. I just saw the meme and I didn't see any backup information. It's just people, cheering or whatever. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. I wonder if you're supposed to drink this hot. Because I think butterbeer in the books is actually served warm. I've never been a fan of warm drinks, though, really.
I'll have you know, for everyone out there that was wondering, I did go see the Dixie Stampede last weekend. The
right.
Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede.
You saw it?
The Dolly Parton's.
That's fun
Dixie
for the whole family.
Stampede.
Set amongst a friendly North-South rivalry.
Correct. And they make you choose at the beginning. Are you going to be North or South? And of course, there was a lot of people in Branson that chose South. I'm not sure how they filled those seats. Yeah.
That's weird.
Weird. But I have to tell you, that is the most wholesome...
they've heard their entire lives that they will rise again, and this was their opportunity, so they had to go.
I got to tell you, I haven't felt that wholesome in some time.
Standing alone by yourself on the north side.
No, but it's quite a thing eating an entire chicken. They give you like a whole Cornish hen and like all kinds of crap. Just keeps coming. And it was entertaining.
So Carl Jones, friend of the show, he's moved to Philadelphia in the last few years, so he's not around here anymore. But he went to Branson as part of a work function.
Oh, God.
And when he came back, he said, I asked him how his trip was. He's like, it was interesting. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I think I could describe Branson as the most racist thing I've ever seen. Just like, ooh, that's not great.
Yeah, it reminds me of Hillbilly Vegas. Like
Yeah.
everything is, we're gonna eat with a big giant wooden spoon. And like, what the
Just
fuck?
just
Why?
for record, Carl is from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
He said it was the most racist thing he'd ever seen.
It's also that kind of racism where it's like super closeted, but we're not really racism. The kind that makes you
Yeah.
cringe really hard. Like the one, like when it's straight out at your face, like Alabama, you're like, well, thank you,
Yeah.
Alabama. At least you're honest.
Yeah,
But
that Arkansas is very much the same way. It's like they don't hide it.
Yeah.
It's like we all know
Yeah.
that this person is racist, and
We're-
we're just
right.
going to move past it.
Right. We're it says Jim Crow on the building. Like we know
Yeah.
what we're about.
But Missouri racism is
Mhm.
very different.
Yeah.
Missouri racism is that like they talk kind of slow so they can judge your reaction while they're talking.
Yeah.
And then based on how you react, they change the sentence.
Yeah, it's a real like deep what is that, like deep cut systemic white
Mhm.
privilege, and you're just like, I think you know exactly why you're not getting arrested right now, but you don't want to say it. I get it.
But it's still growing. It's going strong. Branson's going strong for everyone who's wondering.
Branson. I was going to say
It's going
Missouri's
strong.
going strong.
No.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure no one in Branson even knows about the vaccine yet. They're going to get there. They'll get there.
One day.
Yakov
Man.
Smirnov is still alive, if you were wondering.
And well.
I don't know if he's well.
Yakov
But-
Smirnoff.
Oh,
I
no,
was
he's
like-
quite well.
I was truly like, for real? I saw the sign and I'm like, there's no way this dude's still alive. Oh my
Like,
god.
is he following the Rat Pack? What the fuck is going
I
on?
have no idea. Oh, it's
He's
so
still-
crazy.
He's still Gallagher's still there, right? Isn't he still there? The guy
I
hit
did
the
not see a
watermelon?
sign for him. No, I did not see
Oh,
a sign
I
for
thought
him.
he was there for a long time. Maybe he died.
That Yoshi dude who played the fiddle or violin or whatever, I didn't see
Mm.
any signs for him. I was disappointed.
Oh boy, man, we started off hot today.
Oh yeah.
This is all kinds of definitely not like controversial topics coming up.
Well, I will say this though, and I will give Branson this. Silver Dollar City is actually, no fooling, a fun time.
Oh,
Like,
I agree.
It's actually a fun time.
It's
I
Hillbilly
was-
Disney.
Yeah, I was sure I would really dislike that as an adult when I went there, and I had a really good time. It was really fun.
I was shocked. It's super expensive, and I wasn't ready
Yeah.
for the price tag of taking a family of 4. So I was really angry, and I'm like, this is got to be something. And when we got in there and started doing the things and kind of seeing what it looked like, I was very satisfied at the end of the day. Like it really was. Like you think
Mm.
Disney spends all their money and their park is everything. I could tell Silver Dollar City's pretty nice, man. They figured it out. It's pretty nice.
Also, the thing that Disney does not have, the Silver Dollar City does have, is food. Disney Park,
Yeah.
Disney Park food sucks, but those
Well, yeah, it's
they have
basically
those,
like McDonald's. Yeah.
those skillet those they have like skillet kiosks that move.
Oh, yeah.
In different places. Those things
Peppers
are
and
fucking
onions and sausages.
Yeah,
and
those things
potatoes.
are fucking
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Every time I go there, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's just they've been cooking grease on those things for years, and so they taste fantastic. But it's just like seasoned out the wazoo. Seasoned also with
Yeah.
rainwater, right? Like they don't like they just
Rainwater,
leave them
yeah.
in the rain. Like
This tastes like
there's a lot of
mildew.
things. Yeah, there's a lot of things about Silver Dollar City. A lot of good memories in Silver Dollar City. I have no beef. But the problem with Silver Dollar City is that you have to like leave that place and go to Branson. I'm just not a fan.
Fact. By the way, if you're interested in a timeshare, I do know a few places in Branson that are offering them.
Just a few. Is that how you finance the trip?
No,
You had to sit
you-
through 9 hours of
You
seminars?
probably could. All I know is nothing makes me more mad than a motherfucker offering me shit that I didn't ask for. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh god, I hate it working the counter at the geekery and like people come in trying to sell you shit and I'm just like, get the fuck out. I got so mad one day. I actually called the cops on a guy because he wouldn't
Really?
leave. Yeah, well, but I spent some time researching like the actual soliciting laws in Shawnee and Lenexa,
hmm
and yeah, it's 100% illegal to solicit. You have to have a solicitor's license to solicit in the city limits, and if they have a no soliciting sign, it's still illegal even if they have a license. And if they get caught doing it, they can lose their license to solicit, and there's a fine if they get caught soliciting at all. And so one guy came in one day, and I can't remember what he was selling. I think it was insurance or something. and you can spot them instantly, and then they just try and waste your time. Like they think they're trying to get in with you, but like for some reason when you tell them to leave, they've been trained that doesn't mean no, and so they keep trying to push it, which all they're doing is pissing you off, which means there's no chance you would ever buy anything from them. I don't understand how they don't get that. A decent amount of them, as soon as you're like, get out, and they're like, oh, okay, bye. But he came in and he wasted like 15 minutes of my time because he came in and it was obvious. They're always carrying like the leather folder, and it's like, hey, are you a solicitor? He's like, oh no, I just saw your shop. I was next door. And I was like, figured I'd come in and check it out. This looks like something I'm interested in. They waste like 20 minutes of my time asking me about stuff we carry. That way they're technically shopping, and then they try and their sales pitch after that. It's like, you've just wasted half an hour of my time instead of 30 seconds of my time. And so I got mad at him. I told him to get out. And he was like, well, hold on. I'm not a solicitor. I'm just shopping and mentioning something while I'm here. And he kept trying to go on with it. I'm like, I got so mad. I followed him outside to his car, took a picture of his license plate while calling the police just to get him to fucking leave. I was so mad.
You stood up to the mafia?
Yeah, I know. I tell you what, though, I didn't see a solicitor for 6 months after that. I don't know if they go to meetings or something, but they're like, don't fuck with that guy. He will call the cops.
You've been blackballed.
Yeah. So what you want to do is if you are at you're in an established place and you see their car, get their license plate. But turns out it's really easy for them to get them to give you their business card. Like, so before you turn all nasty on them, you're like, oh, can I get a card? Yeah. And like, is this your personal number? You ask for their cell number. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to call the police now because you're breaking the law. And then you fucking turn them in. It's like the only way to get them to stop. EJ used to do this thing where he would just make fun of them to their face, saying that they were illiterate. He's like, wow, your company can't afford to hire people that can read? And they get really confused, like there's a no soliciting sign on the door. Oh. And he would just do this gag with them for like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, I could read. It's like, clearly not.
You're like, listen, if you want to get your girls on the plane to go on a trip for Girl Scouts, you can go fuck yourself, sir.
Yeah.
I don't care how much they cry.
I actually don't mind panhandling, or not panhandling, peddling. I don't mind peddling that much. Because if you come in and you're like, I want to sell you cookies for $4, that's a situation where I could actually imagine myself buying something. But if you come in and you're like, I want to sell you insurance, or a timeshare, or massage classes, and I'm like, get the fuck out. Have you ever thought about being a court reporter? Like, get out! Go ahead, Parker.
The only time I'm ever sarcastic in a classroom is like we were talking about the EJ thing, is when somebody says, "I don't know how to do this," and I go, "Did you read the directions?" And they go, "Yeah." I go, "What do you think they said?" They go, "What do you mean?" I go, "What do the letters mean?" Because I could come over. I could come over.
Did you not understand?
Because what I will do is I could come over and read the directions out loud. I could just read the question again to you. That's what I'm going to do. So can you do that? Because if you can, then you should do that. And they're like, I don't understand. I was like, also, I made a tutorial video right next to the directions you just read. I am literally going to take 2 minutes of my time to help you watch the video. They go, but the video is 2 minutes long. I go, I know. That's how long it takes to read the thing I read in the video. So I am literally going to walk from where I'm standing now to you to read the video that you could listen to in exactly my voice, or you could just watch the video or read the directions yourself. And they just look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, I know what you want me to do. You want me to come over and give you the answer. That's what you want. You want me to tell you what the answer is. But I'm not going to tell you what the answer is. I'm just going to restate the question in a different way. Would you like me to restate the question in a different way? And they go, I guess. I go, okay, I'll do that. But I'm not reading the directions for you again. I'm not explaining to you again. None of those things are worth my time.
Parker?
Yeah.
I know exactly what that feels like.
Yeah.
Every time I get called over in the middle of a Magic tournament, and they're like, what's the ruling on this card? What's the question? If he does this, can I do that? What does the card say? It says you can't.
You just stare at him.
He's like, what's the question? And he's like, can this happen? I'm like, what does the card say? And then they repeat themselves. I'm like, so what's the question? It's like, literally just read the fucking card.
Yeah. Do what it says there.
Yeah, do what the card says.
I could come over and I could read it for you, but that's the same as you reading it.
Yeah.
Unless you can't read.
I actually had one question. I actually had to look up online the answer. It's the only time I've ever had to look up a question for a Magic game. Fuck, what was it? Is something with drawing cards, I think.
Now one
it
thing.
was like
Go ahead.
the anatomy. It was like it had something to do with the timing phases of the draw step, and so I actually had to look up the exact timing order of like what happens when this happens.
There is one thing I never do when I make that conversation with kids is I never say, "Can't you read?" That like super sarcastic, impunitive question, like, "What the matter? Can't you read?" Because I know there are some students in the room who actually can't read. So,
well, that's why it's so great to work with adults because that's
Right.
100% on them.
yeah. When there's kids in my classroom, I was like, "Oh crap! I know there's people who cannot read, so I can't ask that question." But I can ask the question, do you really want me to just read it again? Is that what you need? Because
Do you have that kid
there are apps
Derek
for that.
on YouTube in your class?
I told a student
He's
the
like,
other day, I
"Hi,
was
my
like,
name's Derek. I'm 14. I never fucking learned how to read." That's his TikTok channel.
Yeah.
That thing's become a meme.
Yeah, I love
It's
that guy.
Can't you read? And you post the picture of Derek like, "Fuck off!" Like. Anyway,
I had told a student the other day, I was like, I want you to know I'm not going to read the question for you again, because every time I come over to read the question, I just read it out loud and then you give me the answer immediately. So what you don't want is the question. What you want is to waste some of my time and yours as well, because you just don't want to do it. So either you can continue to use this tactic and just stare at the screen for 15 seconds and then answer the question, or just go ahead and do it. But I got to go on to the folks. And there she was like, "Oh." Like, we can accomplish the same thing. I can give you like a lollipop and you can lick it twice and then do the question or whatever. Like, it's the same. Just take some small amount of time to not do what I'm asking you to do and then do it.
alrighty. We should probably get into it then.
We got so many things to talk about.
I think the main topic is why come Parker lose game with X-Force. I think that's what the main topic was, right?
How did Parker lose an attrition game that I won? Like, that's yeah.
That does seem odd that you lost a game. We should probably have a whole episode based around it.
Yeah,
well,
I never
someone
lose.
finally were able to take the dice out of your fucking hands. That's how
Yeah.
you lost.
That was my favorite.
It was an interesting problem to have. Unless you don't think it is interesting, but I think it's interesting.
No, it was fine.
And there's a couple things, yeah, that I can say about that too. Our meta doesn't do some things that people have been doing for a bit that kind of relate to that.
All right, let me get a timestamp. We'll get going. Jeremy, I have a question for you.
No.
No?
I
You don't
know.
want to answer a question?
No.
All right, Parker then.
Yep.
Parker, what does a tree wear when it goes swimming? Trunks.
I don't know why I went straight for bikini. I went straight for bikini.
Bikini.
I was like, bikini.
You're like, it's something bikini. It's the only option. Trunks. God damn it.
something dark side. Something complete.
All right, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Got it in one.
Got it one.
Yep. That bitch is in Spider People too. She's in Web Warriors. Ugh.
Yes, she is. Did you not know that?
No, I know, but I just why has it not been? Why have I not just seen 3 Spider People, Black Cat, and Quicksilver? Why is that not just the list that I've seen just raffle stomping all over?
Because you don't need her to win, and she just came out.
You don't need her to win. I feels
This
like that
is-
just wins
Web
so
Warriors are
hard.
going to be the crux of this game. And I hope you understand what I mean when I say that. Every time the list sees adversity, they'll just actually try, and it will get better. It's because, like, the one thing we saw in the history of Crix is Crix dominated War Machine for years.
Always.
And then, like, they got a nerf or something was released that threw a wrench into their plan. And all they did was actually try hard and they immediately fix the problem. Like,
Right.
they're like, oh, turns out we've all been wasting so many points on this garbage unit anyway. We'll just take this other unit that actually turned out was better the whole time. And you're like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Basically,
It's like-
Krix is the Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
They just play with the weights on all the time because it was so easy to do it.
Mhm.
But if you actually need them to fight, they just take the weights off and they're power level 9,000 or whatever.
It's actually like Zaraki Kenpachi from Bleach, where he's actively just running it head first
Uh-huh.
and not giving a shit because he just always wins and he finds it boring to try.
Uh-huh.
And so when he actually is in a life or death situation, he's like, oh, I guess I actually have to not fuck around and try for once. And he just completely obliterates people.
Right.
He's like, all right, well now that that's over, back to just running at people.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was Krix. It's like, hey, we nerfed this caster 4 times. What now? It's like, oh, turns out that spell wasn't any good anyway. We'll just use the other spell. Oh, damn it. We'll release this unit attachment for this other army that will counter your army. It's like, oh,
So
I'll just play my good units then.
So what do you
Like,
think?
God
What do
damn
you
it.
think they'll actually do to Web Warriors? Like, I don't see them doing anything to Web Warriors. I think they'll always just.
Oh no, I just think people will try and oh, we're gonna get smart. We're gonna stop playing missions that Web Warriors are good on, and we're gonna start putting stuff in our list that counteracts Web Warrior abilities. Like, I'll play size 4 characters so you can't push me, or I'll play characters that I don't know, have out of activation movement so I can get back on points. They'll do all of this, and then they're like, okay, we'll play Black Cat, and she'll just steal your objective. And you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, we'll do something to stop the stealing of the objective. Okay, we'll just put in Thanos or something silly like Doctor Strange. You're like, turns out we just have more board control than we could ever need. And you're like, damn it.
Mhm.
It feels like we're going to get into that circular, trying to counter something logic, and then it just transforms into something new and is better than it was before. Maybe not better, but better versus the meta.
Right.
And then you'll adapt to try and counter it again, and it'll just keep moving away from you. And you're never going to be able to catch it because it's just so good at what it does that if they printed anything that would actually stop it, it would be broken in itself. And so you're kind of in a box. The only thing they can really do is nerf the characters, I think.
So do you?
And they're not as crazy far ahead as Krix was.
Yeah, I was going to say
Krix was 90% win rate.
they
or
don't
some
feel.
shit.
They
It
don't
was
feel.
insane.
Yeah, I was like, they do not feel like Krix.
But I feel like they're advantaged in every game I see them play. I don't think I've ever watched a game and gone, okay, Web Warriors are in trouble. I don't think that's ever happened.
It happened the other day. It was his first game playing them, and I got
The Web
dice,
Warriors
but-
weren't at a disadvantage. Your opponent was at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're saying you set 2 sides up and you say, all right, all
Yeah.
things fair, go. And
Yeah, you deployed and you were disadvantaged, but the difference in player skill made up
Right.
more than that.
Yeah.
And obviously, as one of his first games, that's obviously going to be the case. There's nothing
Right.
against your opponent. Unless your opponent was Jason, that's 100% his fault.
Yeah, I'm actually getting fairly tired of playing against Web Warriors. Oh,
When do you play against Web Warriors?
every fucking game is against Web Warriors.
Every fucking game is against Web Warriors. That's literally not true.
It is true. I played the last probably 3. The last 3 is Web Warriors. And the coup de grace on all of it is I got to play against Amazing Spider-Man, who did exactly what I imagined him to do. An
Whatever
unkillable
Spider can?
piece of shit nightmare.
Whatever a spider can.
Mm.
Jeremy, I know that you haven't only played against Web Warriors because I play Spider Foes against you all the time.
We haven't actually played in a little bit.
It has been a bit because you keep
Yeah.
ducking me.
So wait,
You want to get some wins.
why is Amazing Spider-Man an unkillable nightmare? He seems like he can go down. Is he
Oh,
just-
Jesus Christ. You haven't.
It seems like
I
he
keep
can.
watching him die like a little girl. It's not hard to kill him.
No, it is. It's actually very hard to kill him.
He has
With Parker dice, when you're like, oh, I guess I only got 3 crits on this defense roll.
whoops.
Oh well.
No.
I guess I can do better next time.
No. 4 dice, reroll any, reroll an additional one because you're playing with Miles. I mean, it's a lot.
But Jeremy, just play execute.
Yeah, just do that.
Just play execute and he dies.
Mm.
Yeah, Jeremy, aren't you playing the faction that delivers execute really consistently?
What do you X-Men?
According
Yeah.
to the internet, execute's bad, so he can't play it because all he does is do what the internet says.
I don't
That's
even
not
have
true.
The internet.
The internet did not say that.
I do.
The internet probably did say that actually.
Mm. I don't know any better than that. I don't know.
Also, you could play this one card that we talked about in many of our episodes called Mark for Death.
I have that in my list,
hard-
dickhead.
Hard counters Peter Parker.
And also hard counters
And then
Black
once
Cat.
he's on the backside, you play Execute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeremy, can't. Not gonna lie. Doesn't Corvus Glaive do pretty well against Spider-Man just because he rolls too many dice? Too many hits?
You can definitely get too many hits. Like, he just is really amazing at anything under 5 damage.
Right.
Did you see what I did there?
You did. He's sensational at 4 or less.
He's new Avengers at it. Wait,
Right.
shit.
Womp
Right.
womp.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But seriously, Jeremy, are you really think he can't die, or are you just being facetious and
He's just commenting on how survivable he is, because he's supposed to be survivable. That's the whole point.
He's very survivable. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Is he 11 hit points, or does he have 12?
pretty sure 12?
I think it's 12. 6. It's same on the front and back.
6/6?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 6s.
You want to talk a model that can get away from you?
4/4/3, any number of rerolls, +1 for Miles. He actually, I think, when I've been playing him anyway, he's run into power issues. But part of it was kind of because my opponent kept running away from me, and so I kept having to chase him, and that burned a lot of my power.
I mean, turn 6 came. I had him dead. I finally got him dead. But at that point, he'd done way too much damage. I mean, he hits like a truck, too. Like, he's super hard to kill, hits like a truck. He's a
So
good...
all I'm hearing is he died in the game you played.
He actually didn't die. I'm making that up, but he was right on the edge.
Okay.
I could have killed him.
So if you could have killed him, what's the problem?
Just not good at the game.
You should have just
Told
killed
you.
him.
Should have just tried harder.
Yeah. What if have you considered just trying? Dude, that was the funniest shit. When you and fucking other Brandon were playing the Magneto Ultimate Encounter, and you just turned to Brandon, you're like, could you just try? That fucking killed me. I almost fell down.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just
And Brandon
The
just
only
I
thing-
fucking did, man. Like, I rolled these, Scarlet Witch had just, Fatal Twisted, or Cruel Twisted, a fucking Metallic Construct for 0 damage, and you're like, could you just try? I am doing everything over here. And he was just like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying. I'm trying real hard.
The only
He's like,
thing
you
that-
are not trying.
The only thing that kept us both from crumbling our models and throwing them in the trash was the fact that we were about 3 or 4 beers in. Like,
Yeah.
that game was so stupid.
That was a fun game. I really enjoyed watching that game.
I'm sure.
My favorite was later on when they were playing. Was I playing that game? Did I play
No.
you guys? Or you played somebody
No,
else, right?
we played Bobby. Bobby was playing Magneto.
Bobby, that's right, yeah. I was watching, I think I played the game before that, and we were talking about how fucking crazy Magneto's shockwave attack was.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which models it was, but he played it was Heroes for Hire or Lethal Protector. I think it was Lethal Protector. And he moves Venom in and lands right next to one of his other models. But off of Magneto's base, you literally could not have made a straighter line of 4 models. Like, it was literally like a 3-year-old could have figured out what the strategy was, which was shockwave these models. It was so absolutely perfect. There wasn't like literally if you took a ruler and pushed it up against their bases, I think it would have been a perfectly straight line directly off of his base. I was just like, I don't understand what you're doing. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, are you sure that's where you want to put Venom? He's like, yeah, what's wrong? I was like, I just shockwaved last turn. Like, you do not remember what happened? For anybody who has not looked at Magneto, his Ultimate Encounter card, Shockwave is quite good. It's like a range 4 6-dice Mystic Beam. It's fucking crazy. And I think he you lose power when he hits a wild or something. I can't remember.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was more than enough just to kill you. Oh, I think it incinerated on a wild. I can't remember. It was nuts.
It was horseshit. I'm all set with that one. That encounter, I beat it. It's fine.
I beat it. You didn't, though.
No, I mean, it's defeated. Like, I flipped that card over, and I just put that one away. It's done. I did it.
I feel like you're just like the guy playing a video game in his house, and he dies, and he just takes the controller and throws it through the window, and he's like, I'm fucking done. This is over.
Yep. That's correct.
All right. Well, I think we got enough here. You guys good to go? Do you want to talk about anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. I think we're good.
Parker's already asleep.
Yeah,
No, I'm
he's
good.
spent.
All right, we need you to clap, Parker.
Got it.
You're like curled up in a chair way away from your computer, like, I'm okay.
You're right. I had to get over there to hit stop.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ah! Oh, Jeremy, before we get off, did you know that the next time I play, I'm going to pull out secret weapons. Very secret weapons from the secret city of Adelan. All the Boltagons are coming out to play.
No.
He's gonna play Agar your Boltagons.
Uh-huh.
Jesus Christ. That ought to help you. I mean,
I really like that. Play Agar.
I mean, you'll be able to re-roll a die every attack now. I mean, your dice can only get better.
Uh-huh. That's the idea.
I can't even remember what the plan was.
Oh.
I think I continually tried to talk you out of it.
No, you didn't.
Don't do that.
No, you didn't.
I'm pretty sure I did.
No, you told me it works. It's just
I know
what else?
For a fact, multiple times during our conversation, I said, "But you'll be playing the worst faction in the game."
No, you
that
did
was
not.
100% set up.
No, you did not say. You said no, you did not, because you do not believe that the worst faction in the game.
I do believe that.
We mentioned the X-Men once in our conversation, and that's when you said worst faction in the game.
No, but I definitely said also Inhumans are the worst faction. They can both be the worst. X-Men has the worst characters. Inhumans are the worst affiliation.
No. You said, and I quote, "They're horrible characters, and Cyclops' team power is by far worse than Inhumans."
It is by far worse than Inhumans. It's not even comprehensible how much worse it is.
Right. So, Jeremy, I'm bringing the second worst faction coming at you.
Well,
what was the plan? Was it just play Inhumans or something else? Right?
No, I have like a plan. Yeah, there's a plan.
Cool. You don't want to give it away though.
Okay.
Oh well, I mean, he's falling unconscious, and so am I. I'm
sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, like X-Men got Jean. Like, is that fair? That's cool, right? Jean's good.
You can play whatever you want as long as I'm allowed to play the Jean card.
Can I play Jean?
Because that's undefeatable.
Jean.
Stupid.
It's the only card that forces a game developer to jump up out of his chair and run down a hallway to scream it into a room that's recording a game. Jean!
Jeremy, basically, it's inspired by the way I have been playing X-Force, which may or may not be the right way to play X-Force, but I'm curious to see if it just gets better in Inhumans. We're gonna see.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right.
All right, let's get out of here.